Welcome to A Rare Reality, a podcast powered by Jordan's Guardian Angels. I'm Christina Janes, Director of Outreach and Content Development for JGA, and I'm joined by our Executive Director, Carol Backhouse, today. Carol, it's always good to see you, always something interesting to talk about, and today we're focusing on our new families.
Yes, absolutely. We have so many new families, and we wanted to take the time to kind of do a podcast that addresses everything they need to know and
Yes.
all of the above. So,
Yeah, one-stop shop for our new families right now. We've always had a new families packet. We've had this podcast that we've talked about, like how to join us and how to become part of JGA. We felt like with so many new families and so much new information that it was time for an upgrade. So that's what this is. There is a brand new families packet. If you can say that 5 times fast, I will be very impressed. But a new families packet is out. It's on our website. It'll be in the link for the notes on this podcast. But we want to go through it today and kind of give the step-by-step answers for what this looks like, what's in it. But this is an important part of becoming a part of this family.
and there's a lot happening now than we
Yes.
had a few years ago. So when families come in, it can be overwhelming and catching up on everything. So the hope is between the packet and this podcast, it kind of guides families and let them know like everything that's out there. And then when they're ready, they can go and access all this
Yeah.
information.
It's a lot. It can be overwhelming, but hopefully this helps to give you that jumping off point where you can just sort of check things off the list here. So let's start from the beginning here. Let's go through a little bit about what JGA is, who we are, and what we're doing.
So Children's Guardian Angels is a nonprofit that was established about 8 years ago now by Joe and Cynthia Lang, who are the parents to Jordan, who's now a young adult, but Jordan was diagnosed with BPP2R5D many years ago, and uh, it kind of became the foundation that is leading the research into this gene and other genes as well. So under the JGA research, we have PPP2R5D, PPP2R1A, and PPP2R5C. So these are the three kind of sister genes that are very similar but different in some ways that our community consists of, and our research effort is looking at them as well.
And the research effort has, I mean, we've said it a million times, but for our new families, it's moved at a speed that is very often not seen in research, especially in rare disease research. And so to watch this move as quickly as it have has and to have as much success as it's had, there's been a lot of change. Even in the last 6 months, things have changed. And we're going to be saying that again 6 months from now. So catch us up where we are to date.
Yeah, let me start with a little bit of background
Mhm.
about how Kana all came together. So, we're in this fortunate situation where we have nine institutions kind of collaborating and working together to find ultimately a treatment or a cure for our conditions. Now, this is different and unique because traditionally, how science is done is a group would do the research, they will publish, someone else will pick up that work, and they will add and continue that work forward. But what JGA has been able to do is really build a true collaboration where everyone that is working on this, they're working together as a team. They're sharing their data in real time. We come together very regularly, and it really has helped us, like you said, to move that research forward a lot faster than initially even anticipated, right? So when we started this in 2017, the
Mhm.
gene was newly discovered. The family group was just being established. There was less than 10 of us, right? So over time, and through all this effort, we went from barely knowing about the gene to being very close to finding true answers. And the exciting thing for us now is in 2025, we're planning clinical trials, which is the first clinical trial for Jordan syndrome, which is the gene PPP2R5D. And that's going to be testing an actual pill that our kids can take. And we're going to see how it impacts them, if any. So we're hopeful that we're going to see a lot of positive impact and we'll be able to um, kind of approve that drug to become the first drug for the condition. But yeah, it's exciting time ahead, and there's like exclusion and inclusion criteria of who can participate and such, and
Yeah.
we can perhaps look back on that and talk about
Yeah,
what that looks like.
and let's talk about it a tiny bit because I know it's what's on everybody's minds, especially when you have new families coming in. It's like, does my child qualify? Would or my family member qualify? What does that look like for families who might want to participate in this?
Yeah, so um, all these kind of parameters are put together by the FDA, so it's not anything that our team or our clinicians have decided on. We just have to follow very strict rules and parameters in order to be successful. So for that initial group, we're looking at phase 2 clinical trials for in the US or in Canada for English speaking families. So English has to be the first language of the person participating. And it's for individuals ages 9 to 45. And there are a few exclusion criteria, and it's actually part of that new family packet at the end if you want to read all the details. But what it would entail that first phase is to have 30 families participate in the trials. We're going to have three clinics, one in Seattle, one in Boston, and one in Chicago. And
Mhm.
our families will be assigned to the clinic that is closest to them. And it's going to entail 7 to 9 trips to the clinic daily pill and kind of observing, assessing, and kind of seeing if we're seeing any kind of results with this.
Mhm.
We don't really know what kind of changes we're going to see in humans, but in mice, what we observed is a boost in cognition. They were able to solve puzzles that they weren't able to solve before being on the drug, and also a change in the hyperactivity and the focus. Again, we're not really sure how that's going to get translated in the humans, and
Right.
that's what the clinical trials will tell us.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's going to be so interesting to see what comes next because every step along the way, we're starting to see that there's so much more. We just continue to learn on a
Yeah,
regular basis.
absolutely. And we even if we see positive result, this is not gonna be like take this pill and it takes everything away. It's really a first step to make that quality of life a little better, to make the experiences of the individuals and the families a little
Right.
better. So we probably will foresee like a few different drugs as a short-term solution because we'll continue to explore other drugs that can look at other symptoms, right? Like um, seizure or
Right.
sleep or behaviors or some of these other symptoms that fall under this condition. But think about it as like each drug might address a subset until we have that magic pill that can address really the impact
Yeah.
of the mutation.
Take care of all of that. Um, in terms of joining the research, not everyone will qualify for this trial at this very moment for whether part of the exclusions or age limits or whatever that looks like. But there are other ways for our families to get involved right now. And that really involves joining the research, joining Simons, and helping to move this effort forward. So let's talk a little bit how they get involved in those things.
Yeah, and that's a really important distinction that you're making, Christina. I mean, there's the clinical trials, and that's like that 30 people we talked about. They're gonna meet very specific criteria, be in the US, visit the clinics, etc. But this is like a very small portion of like the big picture that is happening, right?
Right.
So we still have an opportunity for everyone, all our families across the globe to participate, provide their data, and really help us move forward with our efforts. And that's through Simon Searchlight, and it's our partner that collects our data and also samples like blood samples and creates some other stuff for us as well. But it's really important to go online, simonsearchlight.org, create a dashboard, create an account, and really provide that information. Because if you, again, as I said earlier, that there was like less than 10 of us, right? When we first
Right.
started, and there was really nothing known out there. Now with our community being for 2R5D specific being over 350, and then
Right.
with the other two genes having over 400 families in the globe, we really can learn a lot from that. So um, for our new families, when they're ready, right? I mean, don't go and do everything unless
Right.
this is what you need to do. You know, some families, that's how they deal with the news. They go and get to work.
Do it all, but
Uh, yep, but do go on Simon Searchlight and create an account, provide your data, and start contributing to that. Because without that input, we wouldn't have been able to shape the research the way we did, prioritize really the needs of our community, and continue to push us all forward.
right. And it's pivotal. I mean, it really does make all the difference in the world to have this information. So please take a moment. There are rewards along the way if you need some incentive. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Simon Searchlight gives Amazon gift cards. The more you answer, as a parent that has done that for me and my child, it's really, I mean, it takes a little bit of time, but it's straightforward and it's really important. Like if you have an hour, you're not sure what to do with it, this is the thing to spend the time on.
yeah, go do it. Go do it.
Yep.
Now, this is separate from our own personal database. We have a database here that is maintained strictly to know who's in our community. When we say that that's for in-house use, it's for us so that we can keep track of everybody. We know where they are, who you are, who's related to whom.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
want to make that clear. These are two separate things. You have joining the research and you have joining our database. Two different things.
Yep. So think about the database that Christina is talking about as like a contact database.
Right.
If Facebook is out of commission tomorrow, we need a way to still be able to communicate with our families, share any news, do all that stuff. So this is really what it is. It just tells us who our families are, where they are located, and a way to contact you. So and by joining that database, you also get added to the monthly newsletter, which has a lot of very important information. So it's a Google Sheet. It's not shared beyond this group. It's just a way to contact you and be able to get a good feel of who our community is across the globe.
Exactly. So let's walk through the onboarding process. You're new, you've gotten your diagnosis, you're concerned, to say the least, and trying to figure out what comes next. There is a whole process in place now to make sure that you join us in the most convenient, less stressful way to try and take part. So let's talk about that, including the Facebook welcomes, so that families don't wonder who we are
Yeah,
and where we're
yeah.
coming from.
Where is that coming from?
Yes.
Yeah, families do find us in few different ways. So we
Yes.
have families that find us through their clinicians. Um, so they connect us directly and say, "Hey, we saw you're working on this. I have a new family I'm working with this condition." And usually we reach out, we provide the new family packet, we connect them with the right group, etc. What happened most of the time, families find us through social media. So we get families that, go to Dr. Google as soon as they get their diagnosis, they put the gene in there and we pop up, right? So the Jordan's Guardian Angels website comes out, the Facebook group comes out, and we have a couple of different Facebook. Um, we have a Facebook group slash page. We have the public Facebook page, and that's like where we put like these general posts, etc. But we have a private Facebook group, and is a group just for our families that are impacted by the mutation. So most of the time, what happens, families eventually make their way to that private Facebook group. So they ask to join and they have to answer a couple questions, and then they get added to the group. And on Thursdays, usually we have a welcome post. That post saying "Welcome families." It has a link to the new family packet and some other information, and they're tagged in it. So that's a good place to start. And it also has a link to the database. So we have a way to contact you. And what that usually triggers is a Facebook message, usually from Christina, kind of welcoming you to the group and also connecting you with that with your local ambassador.
Yes.
And when we're saying ambassadors, we're talking about a group of families that are trained and around the world that really are that point contact for every community. So whether you're in the US, depending on which state you live in, you'll have different ambassadors. If you're in Germany or in France or in Spain or whatever you might be in the world, that will immediately connect you with your local ambassador, and that gives you access to families in your area as well.
Yeah, and this is a special group. I mean, we asked for volunteers, we asked for those who wanted to get further involved, and then they go through a special training. They understand the importance of this, and they're able to bring to you someone who not only speaks your language but lives near you and is able to provide a different outlook on the situation for you. Make sure you get through this as in the easiest way possible. So don't be alarmed when you receive information. If you
Yeah.
are new and you have not reached out though to your ambassador or had your ambassador reach out to you, what do they do to make sure that happens, Carol?
Yeah, so we regularly put it out there, right? Saying this is your ambassador. Have you connected yet? So there are a few ways to do that. On our resource center on our website, which we'll cover in a little bit, there's also information about who the ambassadors are. You can always email connect@jordans.guardianangels.org. And that is like a generic email that our ambassadors share, and you'll be connected that way. Post online, whatever works for you, message us directly on the page. But I can't emphasize how important it is. There's nothing like that peer-to-peer support and connecting with someone who's been through that experience already. And our ambassadors work both ways. They work, from the foundation to share the news to the community, but also the other way around. If you have any concerns, there's anything new that is coming out, if you need any support, they bring that back to us as well. So, um, and most of them have like either a WhatsApp group or a Facebook Messenger group just to connect the local families together.
And some of them are even getting together. We've had our families get together and do these big regional gatherings, and it's really fun to see everyone around the world coming together in that way too. It's very special. So we encourage you to do that. It's only positive. There's so much good coming out of all of this.
Yeah. So
Um,
magical being with other families
yes.
living a parallel life. Yeah.
Yes, and especially for our new families. I mean, this is really for you. It's to help you and to see there's that connection that's made when you get to see other children, other families. It's just same thing in having our conferences. It's so magical to watch. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
encourage you to get involved.
Yeah, it's a safe space, but also it's a space to learn and support and be supported and exchange resources. And so
Mhm.
it's really, it might be intimidating at first coming into a community but really making these connections is really important for the entire family. We have siblings that can benefit from that too through our siblings support. So there's a lot of good that will come from you kind of breaking out of your shell and connecting with
Yeah,
others within the community.
absolutely. We've taken a lot of time to make sure that our new families feel like they understand what this diagnosis means and what to look for and sort of the path that they're on moving forward. And part of that is care before the cure. Part of that is what do we do before we have a treatment or a cure for this particular mutation, so or all three of them for that matter. So let's talk about the care before the cure document that was created and this sort of lifestyle of what do you do now? What happens now?
Yeah, I mean, the advantage in coming in and now versus years ago is that we have a little better idea of what the syndrome looks like, right? And
Right.
we're still not fully there. We still discover things as our community grows and ages, and new challenges might surface. But we really if a new family coming in, especially with a younger child, right? If your child is older and it took you a bit to get your diagnosis, you kind of know what to expect. You
Right.
know what your challenges are. But if you're coming in with a little baby or a toddler and you're like, okay, what does that mean?
Hmm.
So what we did is we took information from the standard of care that was published from our group on Facebook, everything that gets shared from all the communication across the years with our families. And we created a little guide. It's not one solution fits all, but it really tells you, uh, gives you an idea of all the possible symptoms that might come with um, Jordan syndrome in particular, PPP2R5D. We are working on creating similar documents for 2R1A and 2R5C.
Hmm.
There are smaller communities, so it takes a little longer to know what it looks like when you only have like 10 patients. But we're getting there. We're increasing these numbers. But that guide, and honestly, it could work across all three genes, even though it's written for one, because there's a lot of similarities. It shows you kind of the possible symptoms, and it doesn't mean that your child will have all, or
Hmm.
your child, or in some cases, yourself might have additional symptoms that are not on this list. But this is like in general, what kind of symptoms our community deals with and what to do about it, what specialists to see, what interventions to go after. And it tells you, especially again for little babies, what care do you need to establish, what specialist do you need to go see. And it'll act as a guide to support you through that initial diagnosis. And what we see oftentimes and not is that the doctors and the people that are giving you that diagnosis really don't know a lot about the diagnosis. And it's when you connect to the community and to the foundation and use all the resources that we have created over the years that a lot of that learning is going to happen.
Yeah, it really is an incredibly helpful tool that you can not only use at home, but you can take with you to your clinicians as well and ask those questions. Ask. It's so helpful when you have some answers in hand to say, this says this. Can I do this? Or can I
Yeah.
see this person? Can you refer me here? We're seeing this. So utilize that document because it really will be so helpful in the long run too.
Yeah, and I want to encourage you to um like push when you feel like you need to do that. It might not be automatic for your doctors to send you to all these referrals or whatnot, but kind of be very adamant of what you think your child needs or you need and just follow up and don't leave any stone unturned. I think there's really good outcome from taking the time and following up on everything that you might be dealing with.
Yeah, I think it can be most helpful. So I guess the next step then is to discuss sort of how to come into the fold. You've received your diagnosis, you know that we have all of these things that are out there for you. So how do we do this? And part of that comes from starting to follow us in other places, which we talked about the Facebook group. Both there's public and there's private. Join us on those. But there are alternate avenues of communication too. There's a couple of chats. Let's talk through those because there's several ways to be able to communicate.
Yeah, yeah. So social media is one there, right? So in terms of a community, we have the private Facebook group, and we've tried other avenues to
Hmm.
connect, but that was really the one that our families preferred. So we're gonna stick with that. But we have Instagram, we have the podcast like this one where you can listen to previous ones and kind of come up to date with everything. We have the YouTube channel where a lot of our videos go on there. But really, in terms of connecting directly with others, we have a mom's group, and that's a WhatsApp group that the moms have. So you could be added to that if you are a mom to a person with the diagnosis. We have a dad's group. Currently, it's a Facebook Messenger group. And we talked about the local communities with their groups, but we also have a community chat that is connected to the private group. So there's really no shortage of being able to connect with whichever sub-community you want to be part of. If you're not sure, feel free to send me a text or email, and I'm happy to like connect you directly with whatever you think you want to get started
Yeah,
with.
absolutely. Another thing to keep in mind here as well, as we're talking about connecting and how to bring everybody together, go to our website. Our website is constantly changing. We're always updating and adding new and bringing in more information and trying to figure out what works and how to make it as convenient as possible for our families. I guess that's probably the easiest way to put it. What's the easiest way to find what you need? So take a look there. I mean, you'll be signed up for the newsletter. It comes out the last Friday of every month. That is key. If you do nothing else, please do that. If you don't sign up for anything else, sign up for the newsletter so you know what's happening. But our website has a resource center. It has our story of how we got here. It has all of the information about our research team, the podcast, blogs, everything is there. It's quite comprehensive. So I encourage you to go and take a look and really look through it and try to see if that is something that's helpful for our new families too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also through the website or on YouTube, you can see some of the presentations from our conference in July 2024. And you can hear Dr. Wendy Chung talk about what we know about the conditions and kind of be part of other things. So if you're kind of joining our community now, this is still up to date information. And when it's not, we'll do another one of these podcasts. So you'll
Yep.
have the up to date information. But make sure, you go and listen to those. And one thing I wanted to add too is like we do have a roadmap for our new families, and it's part of that website on the Resource Center. And it kind of helps take you through the motions. Like if you're just starting, we want you to just connect, join the database,
Mhm.
get familiar with the community, with the group, and give yourself time and grace to wrap your head around
Right.
this diagnosis because that could be difficult time. And some people take months, some people take years, and some people just want to get to it. So wherever you are, kind of at your
We'll
own
meet
pace,
you there. Hmm.
right, go through that. When you're ready to do more, you can join the research. You could play a bigger role, support others on the page. And then eventually you might become one of our ambassadors
Yeah.
or a guest on our podcast or someone that is doing advocacy for the group. So whatever that looks like for you at your own pace, there's really a lot available, lots of ways to learn, to connect, and to be involved.
And another thing for our international families, we are in a constant state of translation. You can find all of our podcasts on YouTube with translation services. That's all there. In fact, any of the videos that are there on YouTube, you'll be able to watch with captions in your language. So keep that in mind. We're constantly translating documents via our ambassadors to make sure that that's all accessible for our families. And it's a work in progress. It's been a huge undertaking for the group as a whole, not only the JGA team, but all of our ambassadors to really pitch in and help make that happen. So we want all this to be accessible for our families.
Yeah, our international family, I mean, it's growing. The challenge is we're in 44 different countries,
Mhm.
right? So the resources are different, the systems are different, the languages are different, and keeping up can be challenging at times. And that's really why we have our ambassadors, so we can continue to access all our communities across the world as fast as possible while we're creating all these documentation and videos and such to provide them with the support they might.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, we've had, when we were at the family conference just this past July 2024, we had many families who said, I sat down and I started with season one of this podcast and started from the very beginning and watched all the way through. First of all, bless you. Thank you for doing that. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. I often laugh, Carol, because this podcast was born on a whim. Carol said, I think we should start a podcast. And I said, okay. And we launched it. And here we are, 4 seasons later. We have so many episodes and we've been telling our family stories as of late, which has just been so special and a really interesting way for our families our current families, our new families, those to come, to hear similar stories to their own and also hear some really hopeful stories along the way. So there is so much opportunity for our new families. As you said, to volunteer, to get involved, to dip their toe in if they're just not ready yet. You can do as much as you want to do that makes you feel comfortable, but we're here and ready when you are.
Absolutely. And also the podcast
Yeah,
is going to act as a great tool right next year as we do clinical trials. What are we learning? What are we communicating? What does that mean? Right? Because I know everyone, whether you're participating or not, you're really
you're
curious
curious.
because we all want this to work so we can release it and make it accessible for everyone, right? Um, so between the newsletter and the podcast, we're gonna be communicating a lot of this progress with everyone. So keep an eye on both.
Yeah. And I think the main message, we've said this so many times, but join us. You found your family, you found a home. We are here for you every day, anytime that you need anyone. You especially, Carol. I mean, if anybody has any questions, Carol's always so accessible and so available. But this team is here when for anything that you may need, needs, wants, ideas, thoughts. We never say no. So,
Yep,
but
whatever you come up with,
right?
we're
But we're
here.
glad that you're here. We couldn't be more happy to have you. And we hope that you feel supported and that you found your landing space, your safe space. You're
Yeah,
you're you're safe here.
yeah. And to find that sense of belonging with community that really gets you and is with you on this journey, and I just want to reiterate, I'm available. I've done a lot of one-on-one calls and chats and whatnot with them, especially the new families. Like if you listen to this and you're like, this is great, but I still have 100 other questions. Between our team and the ambassadors. And again, I'm available to schedule a meeting or a call. We're available to answer all these questions. So don't hesitate to reach out. It's very okay to have hundreds of questions. My family has been on this journey for 9 years and we still have hundreds of questions unanswered. So we'll do our best to support you, meet you where you are, and together we can move our efforts forward.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. And we hope that during a hard time, something that's different and, um, new in so many ways that you feel like you know that you have us here. I'm going to link not only the website, but make sure that Carol's email is linked here on the notes as well. There'll be a lot of information there for you so that this can truly be a one-stop shop for our new families to look through. But please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us and ask any questions. Final message to our new families, Carol?
Yeah, this all can be overwhelming and new and scary. And again, especially for our families with younger children, for some of our older families, they've kind of been waiting for diagnoses. But to have a little tiny baby and getting the diagnosis at that point, we get how hard and difficult that can be. Um, but I want to let you know that you're going to figure it out. You're going to find your way. It's going to become your new normal. And the good news is you're not going to have to do that by yourself. And we have an amazing community, an amazing JGA team working on your behalf day in and day out, amazing research happening, which is very, very unique in the rare space to have the support and the efforts and being close to clinical trials, so close to figuring out the gene. So we are a very special group to be part of. And um, even though you don't want to be part of this group, um, you're here and we're ready to support you and let you know that you can do this. Just give yourself the time, support yourself as needed, and keep on the fight.
Yep. Keep moving forward. That's what we do every day. So
Yep.
yep, we're glad you're here. All right. Thank you, Carol, as always. Welcome to our new families. And if you have not heard our other podcasts, please check them out. You can find them anywhere that you listen to your normal podcast, just look for A Rare Reality. But they're also on YouTube where you can find translation services. Or if you would prefer to watch them, not just listen, go to our website, jordansguardianangels.org. You can click on the podcast button and they're right there for you. So, one more this season, Carol. We have our Team Grateful podcast. We have a lot to be grateful for this year. And then we'll kick off again in the new year. So, um, it's been an exciting year. We've told lots of good stories.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Thank you for being here. As always, thank you for all the work that you do day in and day out for our families. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Same to you.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody, for being here.